Hey guys, welcome back to Flipping the Field podcast where, what was it? Construction meets, I forget what it was.
Yeah, you ready? I'll rip it.
Yeah, you rip it.
Look at this guy.
This is dude, that would have been the first intro that I did.
This is all staying in, by the way.
Huh?
I'm not cutting any of this.
That's pretty good. Hey guys, welcome back to Flipping the Field, from kickoff to closing, where construction meets real estate. Greg, we're back again. How you doing, brother?
We are back again. You know what? I'm just happy that you're the main one doing the intros because we'll have to have a bloopers thing. Normally we're one hit wonders, but I made the first fault today. So
You know, that's why nobody's perfect.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But no, yeah, appreciate it, guys. What we're going to be talking about today is why discipline always beats intelligence.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes,
That is deep.
it is. Because a lot of times, look at it at a 40,000 foot level. Who do you want on your team?
Somebody that's disciplined.
Somebody that's disciplined, yes. And unless you've actually been in it or experienced somebody that's on your team that is not disciplined, first gut response most people say is like, oh, I want the smartest person on my team, especially if we're talking about investments. Like, all right, intelligence, right? We're going to bring in some sports on this one a little bit because, hey, in order to be the most successful, I'm just going to say, what is the only way to eat an elephant? How do you eat an elephant?
You know, Coach Sweeney would say one bite at a time.
One bite at a time. Now, in order to eat an elephant one bite at a time, what do you got to have to be able to actually finish that sucker?
You know, I think you've got to have a pretty large stomach, number one.
Number one, for sure.
You know, and you've got to have the discipline to keep going,
Yep,
because that's a big, big elephant.
it is. It's a big elephant.
It's
You
gonna
got
take some
to.
time.
It's going to take some time, and you got to stay committed to the task. So, only way to do that is to have discipline. Now, talk about.
Now, while we're on that, I think we can't
Okay,
forget
here we
one
go.
other item. You know, what did Coach Sweeney like to say? We'd walk into meetings, right? And you'd be coming, you'd have the clock ticking down, and you know, people don't really get a lot of behind the scenes, you know, to college football or sports in general, or how the sausage is made. Well, you know, we'd be coming into meetings, and every day on that team meeting room board or on the big screen, what was that one picture that was always there?
So, that season, it was an elephant.
No. Every day when you come in, before the team meeting starts, is it a vehicle? What part of a vehicle? I'm trying to see if you can remember.
Well, here's the thing: is every single season Sweeney would have a different picture that was up there. What you're talking about is actually the front windshield.
That's correct.
It's the front windshield. You still can see the rear view mirror. You still see
Yeah.
what's back there, but a majority of it, just like when you're driving down the road,
That's right. What's that called? The old windshield mentality.
windshield mentality. Come on,
Does a windshield mentality breed discipline?
absolutely,
Why?
because you're always looking at what's next.
That's right.
You're not focusing on what's in the past. You're not dwelling on what's in the past. So, okay, say we just lost a game on that Saturday. You come in that very next team meeting on Monday. Guess what? It's in the past. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You can't change it.
You got your blinders on.
Yep, 100%. So, but at the same exact time it doesn't matter where you are. This could have been years ago when we first started talking about starting PK. Is okay. What's that next step? How are we going to be systematic about it? How are we going to instill not only in each other, but as well as all the different personnel and individuals that we have a part of our team? How are we going to instill that level of discipline? How do we get them to buy into that vision? And even then, that's one thing we still challenge each other on a daily basis. But I want to talk about the difference between intelligence and discipline, and why discipline leads to a more successful company, industry, business, all the above.
I mean, there's one thing that comes to mind, right? A quote that I love. If intelligence were enough, why do smart people fail so often?
100%.
Thomas Edison light bulb guy, how many times did he fail?
Hundreds.
Right?
How many inventions did he have?
He was
Hundreds.
smart, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Very intelligent. But was he disciplined?
Mm-hmm.
He was more disciplined than he was intelligent. There is
100%.
no doubt about it. Now, just because you have discipline, does that mean you don't have to be intelligent either?
No.
I mean, you have to combine the two of them. But when you are also, a lot of people are intelligent, so many people. But when you stay committed to that task at hand and are very disciplined to your process and how you're going to do things, you'll win. I can tell you right now that you and me both we're never the smartest people in the room.
No.
But I'm going to outwork or be more disciplined than anybody else.
Yep.
Why? Because I want it more than you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how we are. And if I'm going to, not necessarily just always outworking, that is not discipline, but I'm not also going to be insane, which is doing the same thing over and over wrong. So I'm making sure that I'm disciplined to the task at hand, also, making sure that it's done the proper way.
Correct. Making sure that it's done the proper way. But in that same note is, I feel like a lot of these different, I want to start saying like, yeah, we talked about that in another episode and yada, yada. Just because we hit so many different topics and there's so many different overlaps of a lot of these different life lessons learned along the way. Talking about, you mentioned your process or insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So when you have an intelligent person, say you're in a pinch, and you need to be able to get creative. You need to be able to think about your way out. You need to be able to have those problem-solving capabilities collectively as a team or on an individual level, saying, hey, how are we going to solve this problem? What is the best outcome or solution for this particular obstacle? You might be able to do that a couple times, or you might be able to do that when the pressure's on. But at the same time, to truly be able to build and scale a successful company efficiently, discipline always outworks and will always beat intelligence, in my opinion, because you have that foundation to be able to fall back on. If we have these processes, we have these procedures, we have the company standards, and everybody in the building buys into it, knows that, is working towards that common goal, all of those processes and all of that entire foundation, that just means you're consistent. Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, all of the above. And that's really where that discipline comes down to is I'm going to be disciplined to my task at hand. I'm going to be disciplined to make sure that I'm checking all of those boxes that I need to check. Not only to be able to protect the company from a risk side of things, similar to like we've talked about before, but also because if I know that if I'm disciplined to my craft and I'm disciplined to what I'm trying to achieve, and we've already laid the foundation, laid the action plan out there as to how we're going to get to that end result, and I stay disciplined to that, that's going to beat intelligence every single time.
Oh, all day. You're talking about, just doing one thing right every single day. That compounds itself. Now, discipline can also be a force multiplier.
Mm-hmm.
How can that be done in your everyday business life?
Well, here's the thing is you don't even realize that it's a force multiplier. You don't even realize that it's happening. That goes back to the first episode we ever did where you're talking about, hey, make one small change. I don't care if it's waking up 5 minutes earlier. I don't care if it's getting up and making your bed that day. How you do one thing is how you do everything.
That's right.
So from a force multiplier of being disciplined, it becomes second nature. I can't remember the Sweeneyism of what he used to say, but he's like, your thoughts become your beliefs become your actions become your habits become your character becomes you.
That's right.
I think that's
it. I think that's it.
But it's something like that because it's so simple whenever you think about it. But at the same time, it's like, oh, well, just finished up with dinner. My stomach, like I'm full. I'll get to it later. You find yourself, and it's self-talk. And there's actually
it's all that positive self-talk.
That positive self-talk, and it talks about a discipline. I was actually watching an interview. This was years ago, but it was an interview with Conor McGregor, and person conducting the interview was asking him, it's like, okay, well, you were always really good at MMA. Like everybody you stepped into the ring with, I mean, you just put it to them. Like it wasn't even close. What was it that changed in your life that took you to that next level of being able to be a world champion? And he said, the very first thing he said discipline and positive self-talk. And he's like, listen, you can tell somebody to do something, or you can tell yourself that you are going to do something. Like this, it's the same exact thing as whenever you're waking up in the morning. It's like, just 5 more minutes.
Yep.
Like, 5 more minutes. Yes, even though the night before, 8 hours earlier, you said, yeah, I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock. Okay. You told yourself you're going to get up at 6 o'clock. Your 6 o'clock alarm rings. And guess what? You just snoozed it until 6:30. You're now training your mind to not listen to yourself.
Yeah, you're going the other way.
That is very dangerous because that can compound negatively just as fast as it can compound positively,
That's
if
right.
not faster. So that's how I think it compounds, is because as you start to do those small actions and as you start to change the way that you think and the way you start to change the way you approach problems, we don't have problems, we have opportunities.
That's right.
So as you start to change those, it'll start to compound in so many different facets of your life.
Well, and not only that, but when you start to do that, there's a ripple effect, in your personal life and all of your different teams that you have. Everybody starts to see how you're carrying yourself. When you walk, talk, dress different, it's a multiplier, and it extends to everybody on your team. I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head, that you have to start somewhere and take that step to be able to make that discipline even really start. And, if you're struggling with that, just start by taking one step. How can I change one thing to become more disciplined in one thing? Could be, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. Or what is one thing that I'm doing in my work day that I can change? Maybe it's being more systematic in how I'm approaching the day. But if you're just going to, you can't become disciplined overnight.
Yep.
That happens with time. And you have to start with one small thing to be able to really make it a force multiplier. If you start with one and become more disciplined with one more item, that's going to start growing. Well, guess what? You look back months from now, and now your day looks like it's night and day different, because you really were disciplined in how you were attacking the day.
You touched on it briefly. Talk about the force multiplier within the team.
I think that one of the things with discipline is consistency and boredom. When you have a team, no matter the size, it could be me and you, or it could be a team of 20, it could be 50. I think that when you're doing things consistently, the right way,
Yeah.
that beats anything. And now guess what? You're being disciplined to your task and your process. But, just because, I've done the same thing, I'm bored. Well, guess what? No, you might be bored right now, but little do you know, you're creating that discipline over the course of time that is going to lead to more results for that team. It could be months from now. We always go back to it. You're laying the foundation.
Yep.
So that's a huge thing, that as a team, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing things consistently, and let's stick to that. And guess what? It might be boring, but if it's boring, you're creating that discipline.
And I also want to highlight one thing that you said as well, of talking about the consistency within the team. And on that is, as an owner-operator, you kind of always come down to, you have to have some level of flexibility. You have to be able to pivot if circumstances change. You have to be able to make decisions on the fly depending upon what may be presented to you that day. I want to tie that back to company standards within the foundation piece, because we've seen it happen with other contractors. We've seen it happen with other investors, other lenders, is an inconsistency of decision making. Even though they all may abide by what your intent is or what the plan is for that particular project, This is one thing that always drove me up a wall in construction, and this really could be a force multiplier top down, is let's talk about quality just for a brief second. Talking about quality of whether it's with subcontractors that we're working with or even internal with our team on the project management side of things, is every single client's different. Every single client has a different level of quality standards. Every single one, like you might go in and fully remodel a kitchen, and the rest of that client's house is trashed. Terrible quality. You got they got clothes everywhere. The house is in disarray, and you'll start to hear throughout the subcontractors, throughout the rest of the team, could be third party, could be internal, could be anything. You'll start to hear it's like, oh well, this client's happy with it. I don't care if this client's happy with it because that is not in accordance to our company standards and our level of quality that we stamp our names to. So they are our standards. Sweeney used to say it all the time. Best is the standard. You play to our standard. You don't play to your team or
That's right.
your opponent. So we took that into business as well, because all it takes, say you start to make exceptions and you start to compromise, those little cracks in the shield will start to grow very quickly, because that could be a difference of getting 10 more projects or not getting very many projects after that. Even though that client was extremely happy, you just went down a level and went to that client's standards, because at that point, say they have an event and they have a housewarming party or they have people over for the Super Bowl. They have a different level of quality. It's like, hey, who remodeled your kitchen? It's like, oh yeah, that was PK Legacy Builders. And it's like, oh, okay. They're not going to say anything, but they might be thinking like, wow, that looks terrible. Like those specific joints that they have in the millwork and in the trim. And it's like, that is why you hold to the company standard, because at the end of the day, that crack turns into, and it might just be a hairline crack, could break the entire thing in half. So holding that level of standard, it goes throughout the entirety of your company. That could even bleed into hiring standards. It can bleed into, okay, what's the efficiency and level of productivity on an individual level? What does that mean for capital deployment? It'll start to be a force multiplier in different facets of your company that you don't even know that it would have an impact on, just because you are holding yourself as well as the rest of your team to that level of standard, and that's just bleeding all the way down to the bottom.
And it really comes down to the consistency, repeatable actions and processes along the way, that if you're able to do that, we're back where we are. You're making this, you're growing, you're scaling, you're leading teams, your teams are happy, because guess what? Like you said, it's consistent decision making.
Yep.
And yeah, there's a gray area with a lot of certain things, but keeping it consistent along the way leads to a smooth operation.
Yep. And now that we talked about that, because I mean, we could talk about that all day long. I want to get into talking about those decisions specifically. So, and being able to stay disciplined and stay consistent. Like you mentioned, there are some gray areas. It's not always willpower. So if you're taking a look and having the same exact amount of willpower or work ethic, nobody can compete with it, that's not going to win every single time.
No.
So a lot of times, owners, operators, managers, leaders overestimate the level of control that they individually have just within all these different departments, facets, everything within the company. And a lot of times they underestimate all the different nuances that go into it and the friction points and the bottlenecks throughout that process. Talk about the willpower and the environment as to where and when you're making those decisions.
I mean, you're trying to make sure that everybody is put in the right position, and guess what? Trained from that foundation to have the discipline along the way to make those decisions. But also, you're putting yourself and your teammates in those positions because, number one, you've trusted them. And they're on your team for a reason, because you trust them and you trust them to do their job well.
Yep.
And number two, also you've trained them. And because of that, they are there to succeed, and they feel like they can succeed because they're making decisions now. They feel like that owner operators or managers, they feel like they have their backs. And now they're going to be more disciplined to their craft and, trusting their process along the way, so that that's going to lead to people that are happy to come to work. They love what they do. And along that, you're going to beat people that are just pushing, things through the, just jamming stuff through the process with
Yep.
brute force. Brute force will never win.
It
now,
won't.
In some circumstances, it might when you're the world's strongest man, but that's really about it.
That's true. I mean, I will say we've been blessed because we've seen pros, cons just from other large companies. What works, what doesn't work, what would we improve, what would we keep. Same exact thing with being able to, and blessed of having played at Clemson football and winning 2 different national championships and being able to see the ins and outs of what's behind closed doors as to how that's actually achieved is a lot of times, talk about sports, talk about industry, talk about a company, doesn't matter. It comes down to clarity as
100%.
well. So that consistency of clarity, you mentioned it yourself a moment ago, talking about, okay, well, being able to empower those individuals just within our team and saying, we trust you to make these decisions. We trust you to be successful. We are going to give you the roadmap to be successful. One thing that a lot of times is looked over, and I know you've heard me talk about it many times, is the clarity of expectations.
Yep.
Why is that so important?
I mean, it could be, let's just take a subcontractor, for example. This is the easiest, and this can apply to anybody. And I think you're talking about a scope of work. Hey, Mr. Subcontractor, I need you to bid out X, Y, Z. Well, if they don't have clarity on any expectations, how are they going to be bidding this the right way?
Right.
Because maybe they're like, ooh, I know I'm working with PK Legacy Builders. These guys like it done the right way. And, maybe I may have to come back a time or two or more. But they're going to make sure it's done to their standard. All right, well, we relayed that up front, and we said, hey, if you need to price in a little bit extra because you might have to come back, feel free to do that because we want to make sure it's done the right way. If you're not doing that, how can you come back after the fact and try and hold people accountable when there was no clarification on the front end?
Yep.
So it's all about making sure that up front, everything and everybody is on the same page of all expectations and who's doing what and how things are supposed to be done.
And that's one thing actually that we've implemented recently, bi-weekly meetings, one-on-one meetings with every single person that we have here at PK, is sitting down every other week saying, okay, how's everything going? What is going well? What do you need help on? Where are these areas where you feel as though it's inefficient, where it can be improved? That's one thing that we've seen just across other companies, and being on the front lines while we are employees of those other companies, is taking the time to talk to the people that are actually handling that particular task.
Yeah. People on the front lines that are
Yep.
seeing it.
Exactly. Because, I mean, shoot, you might make a change in your operations, you might make a change in the procedures, or you have this grand marketing idea as to how it's going to drive in so much revenue. Take lending as an example. It's like, oh, well, with our referral partners, actually what we're going to do is we're going to offer them, if they are able to refer over 3 other investors and we end up doing deals with them, we're going to give them a $500 credit on the closing. It's like, okay. Did you talk to your sales team to see if that's actually the feedback as to what these clients and investors want and what is most important to them?
Right.
It's like, well, yes, but no. Like, it makes sense. You give anybody a credit and like less cash out of pocket. Like, who's not going to be happy about that? It's like, okay, well, instead, a lot of times, what type of deal is it? Is it a fix and flip? Is it a ground up construction? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if it's a fix and flip, yes. Lower cash out of pocket on the front end, just lower fees for a fix and flip. That's probably going to win every single time. Why? Because a lot of times you're in and out in 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
You don't have those holding costs. You offer that thing that same exact opportunity to a builder, and they're going to laugh at you. You're like, okay, what difference does that make to me? Give me 25 basis points lower on the rate. That's really what helps me because I'm holding this thing for 10, 11 months.
Yeah.
So it's making sure that those decisions that are being made, the expectations are there, the roles and responsibilities are there, but at the same exact time, when decisions are being made at the management level, make sure that they actually align with where the intent is.
100%. I mean, seen that all too much.
Yep.
You want to make sure that you're protecting the front line's best interest.
Yep.
As we bring today to a close, let's go. Give me 2 items. No, I'll go 3. Give me 3 items of why. Be very short and brief with me. It can be 1 sentence at the most. And you don't have to do the works cited page this time.
Yep.
But give me 3 takeaways of how discipline beats intelligence.
1, discipline allows you to attack any problem with confidence as well as you are consistently disciplined. That's 1. Think about that.
Yep.
2 is level of intelligence. When you have that level of intelligence, it is very important. It certainly is. Even though we're not always the smartest person in the room, intelligence is important. But at the same time, you need to be strategic as to when you are applying that level of intelligence company-wide. Because you might make a change and it disrupts more than it helps. Let's see. 3, I would say, 3, I'm going to make it a challenge.
Okay.
The third one, I'm going to say, I want every single person that's made it this long and listening to this episode, I'm going to challenge you. Pick one thing, one area. Could be in your job, could be at home, could be with your family, could be personally just for yourself. Pick one thing that you are going to challenge yourself with that will help you take that first step to be more disciplined. Could be waking up 15 minutes earlier. It could be setting aside 20 minutes whenever you first get home to be able to spend that time with your family. Set your phone down. Don't answer your email. Turn your phone on Do Not Disturb. Spend that time with your family. Pick one thing to be able to allow yourself to take that first step to be able to be more disciplined.
I love that. Because you got to start somewhere.
Yep.
And once you do that, those baby steps are going to lead to some big steps down the line.
You'll gain momentum.
That's right.
And I'm excited to see it.
Yep. Thank you guys for joining us today. We look forward to catching up with you next time.
Appreciate it.